Hi everyone, welcome to Woolen Spinning. It has been a long time. We took 3 weekends off and we did do, no that's not right, we took 2 weekends off, but it ends up being 3 weeks. We did do a premiere episode while I was away and I hope that you guys enjoyed that. It was it pre-recorded and premiered on YouTube so that you guys could still do the live chat and see each other, but I wasn't physically there because we were actually off grid at the time, and I was really bummed I couldn't actually like be there for the premiere. Usually if I premiere something, I'll still be able to be in the chat, but this time round we were totally off grid. We were about 3 hours away from any kind of service, so there was no way. But regardless, I hope that you guys enjoyed last weekend here in Canada. It was Labor Day weekend, so it was a long weekend for people. We were still on the road. We were coming back from northern British Columbia, and we got home on Tuesday. So I have to admit the last 3 days have been a total and complete blur. If you have sent me a message, if you have tried to get in touch, I am just in the process of getting back to everybody. So thank you so much for your patience and for just holding tight while I get through all of the emails and all of the messages, and you should be hearing from me in the next couple of days, probably in the next few days actually, because I'm working tomorrow. So we had a good time away. We were gone for almost 3 weeks, and we went up to a place called Liard Hot Springs. It is north of Fort Nelson here in British Columbia. So the total time, like when you look at the Google Maps and you look at where we were from home, it's about 17 hours north from where we live. So about an hour, about 2 hours from Watson Lake, which is just on the other side of the Yukon border from British Columbia, and about 3.5 hours, 4 hours towing from Fort Nelson, which is also in the north of British Columbia. So we had a really good time. We had some inclement weather, you know, some rain and some cloudy breaks and some sun. A little bit chilly the first couple of nights that we were gone, and I was sort of like, oh shoot, maybe I didn't pack properly, but it actually ended up being okay. So we were in jeans and t-shirts and sweatshirts the whole time, but with the hot springs, you're kind of in and out of the water anyways. The walk out to the hot springs from the Deus area where the provincial park is 700 meters, so for a round trip of 1.4, and we can walk it quite quickly, but you're walking through a marsh and it's all level, so there's benches along the way for people who need to be able to stop and to be able to sit down and whatnot. And because you're walking through quite a warm marsh, sometimes you get to see moose kind of, you know, washing themselves and playing in different parts of the marsh, but unfortunately we didn't see any. We heard of one person who saw one female, but she was down in the marsh and in the water and was playing and wouldn't come up for a cameo. So for the first time, actually, we didn't see a lot of wildlife this time around, and apparently they move up and down the corridor between basically Fort St. John all the way up to Whitehorse, Yukon, and they kind of move up and down that corridor, and so you can go 2 or 3 months and not see anything, and then they kind of all move back down again, or they move back north again. And it's really, really interesting because this time round, so we only saw 2 bears. Last time we were up there, we saw like 30. We saw one quite big black bear and one brown bear who looked like he was a yearling. We were wondering if the mama was around somewhere because he was quite small. But for the first time, we saw caribou, and we have never been able to see caribou before. All of our time up north, all of our time in the bush, all of our time in these different places, we have never seen caribou. So that was cool, because seeing one in real life versus seeing them in a postcard or a photograph or a cartoon depiction or whatever is very different. And I didn't realize they were so silky gray. They are very different from elk and deer. And so that was actually a highlight because we saw about 10 of them, and we saw them in several different little groups of 3 or 4. And like I said, we've never actually been able to see them again before. So, and a couple of them were quite big, which was really, really neat. So like they were obviously big bucks. Anyhow, that was definitely a highlight. The other highlight while we were away is my silly salmon support spindle came. So this is, I had ordered it before we left, and Silly Salmon Designs, this is her card that comes with it. handcrafted tools that inspire. There's quite a few people. It was actually Josie and my friend Diana who inspired me to try to get one. And this is a segmented cauldron in maple, figured cherry, and cherry rosy coral accent. So it's 1.5 inches wide at the base. It is a height of 10.25 inches, and it's 23 grams. Or 0.8 ounces. So I've been playing with that. James picked it up when we got home. I opened the box after we'd been home for a couple of days. I didn't have a chance to open it right away. So when I opened it, James picked it up, and he had been playing with a whole bunch of my friend Kim and my friend Diana's support spindles when we were over at Diana's house a few weeks ago. And he picked it up and he immediately flicked it to turn it. And he said, "Oh, Mama, that's a good spindle." So it was really cute. The whirl is 8 inches around, and yeah, so excited to start to play with that. The other thing too is that she sent this Fellview Fibers little piece of sunshine with her with this spindle. And actually the interesting thing is it matches. So I suspect that she chose this one for a reason. So I'll definitely spin this up on the spindle and give it a test run, if you will. So really fun, good mail day. So we kind of jumped right into the podcast, but this is episode 214, and I just want to welcome everybody to this place and thank you so much for watching and for viewing. If you are a new viewer of the podcast, thank you so much for checking me out. If you don't mind taking a moment to hit the subscribe button and the like button, I would really appreciate that. The other thing that I wanted to say was welcome to returning viewers. You guys are an integral part of keeping the channel going, and for others seeing the channel when they do searches for spinning and knitting and so on and so forth. So thank you so much for continuing to watch the show. And of course, to our live chat that is going on right now, to our Patreon community. You guys are the ones that keep the lights on week in, week out, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. So thank you so much. Over the coming 3 or 4 months, there are going to be probably 4 to 6 months. There will be some changes to Patreon. I just want to change a couple of the things and some of the tiers and whatnot. So just keep your eyes open for some of those posts that are going to come up on Patreon from me to you, just for patrons of those tiers, just so that you know what's coming and what's changing. I just want to continue to work towards very slowly, just streamlining things so that you guys would be able to sort of find what you're looking for and understand what it is that you're looking for and find those things. My Magicraft Susie Pro is broken. The drive band broke right the day before we left, and I thought about running out to Penelope Fiber Arts in Ocean Park and trying to get the new drive band, because she has some in stock, before we left and getting things finished off, but I just didn't want to do that to myself. And so I emailed Brenda and I was like, can I come and pick it up when we come back? And she's like, absolutely, it's on hold for you, no problem. So this week kind of went from getting everything organized from being away to sort of a little bit busier, getting everything organized and so on and so forth. And it just kind of continued to deteriorate. And all of a sudden I found myself at 3 p.m. on Friday afternoon. So I have actually asked Brenda to ship it instead. And so because of that, I can't get anything done on that wheel sort of for now. The reason why I'm telling you this is that it's going to affect the October content. So our October content might be released a little bit later than usual. So just keep that in the back of your mind, because I just couldn't get down to Penelope. It's about 45 minutes to drive from her house to her shop, from our house to her shop. And I also wanted to go and pick up my Sanjo spin box, which I'll talk about in just a minute. And again, I just couldn't justify spending that much time in the car to go down and pick it up. So Diana very kindly is going to ship it for me as well. But I'm really excited about that. So I'll share about that in a couple minutes. So lots going on, but not very many wheels to spin on, if you can believe it. And I was going to share with you my current spin that's on my Ashford e-spinner. It is a colorway, it's organic Polworth actually, from Hello Yarn, and it's just totally my colors. I talked about it in the last episode in episode 213, and I left my e-spinner in like a completely different part of the house. So we won't be talking about that today. So I hope for those of you who are e-spinners, I hope that you're not too disappointed. But in the meantime, we've got Shetland to talk about, which is beginning our primitive study for our for our breeds workshop on the School of Sweet Georgia. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? And I've got a couple of knits in progress that I was going to share with you. So why don't we kind of get into that stuff? And we've got a little bit of community participation for later in the show. And I think that'll kind of round out the show for today, because there's quite a bit to share with you, and it just kind of gets longer and longer and longer. So let's run the credits, and I'll see you guys on the other side. So Eve said she would love to see a photo montage of our trip. Thank you so much, Eve. I took no photos. I did nothing. I was going to film every day that we were away and do like a little like update thing every day. And I was going to do some photos, and I was going to put together a travel vlog, and I was going to do all these things. And I did nada, zip, zilch. I have like one photo of the kids. I have one photo of Nora curled up at the campfire. She was so tired that she actually fell asleep. And I have another photo of, yeah, no, that's it. So I'll put a couple of photos in the Slack channel for you guys to see. But yeah, I didn't do anything. I do have a vlog from later in the trip when I was surrounded with sweaters, and I was folding them up and going to be putting them away. And I'm not going to talk about it too much here, because I did film a vlog. It's about 20 minutes long. I haven't downloaded it off the camera yet, and I haven't edited it yet. That's actually on my to-do list for next week. So you will hear about what I worked on while we were away, and I will be releasing that in the next week or so. But yeah, I did nothing. In terms of like filming. And you know what? So you know how let's talk about support spindling. I did do a little bit of support spindling, and somebody was asking about the fiber, I think. Let me just look at the chat really quickly. The little rowlag came from Fellview Fibers. Fellvieu, and they're in the UK. Yeah, Fellview Fibers. I've heard Fellview Fibers talked about before from you guys. I'm pretty sure that you guys have talked about Fellview before. So while we were driving, I finished, this is that gradient set that I made all those rowlags before we left, and I was going to work on while we were away. So this is the lightest yellow, and it progresses all the way across to this gorgeous deep, deep, deep dark brown. So it goes from these gorgeous yellows all the way through to the gorgeous brown. We left on the Saturday, and we started driving. So I had live streamed, and we left, and we started driving. And I finished off the singles for the third color, and I was spinning, and I had forgotten a spinning bowl. So I was just spinning on my lap with my spindle, which actually surprisingly with jeans works quite well. I have to say that I was not disappointed. I would totally do that again. The problem is it makes me motion sick. So I had finished this one before, I feel like I finished this one before we left. I don't think it's washed yet though, and this is a 100% support spindle spun and then plied on the wheel. So the singles were spun on the support spindle. And as we were driving, by the time we got to, I think we got past Hope, And I started to feel really motion sick because we were entering sort of more of like where Highway 1 starts to kind of twist and curl and turn. And I started to feel really motion sick. And so I switched over to knitting. And then I tried again, which is how I got all of these singles finished. And I got motion sick again. I get really, really motion sick. So whether we're in the car, I can't go on roller coasters. I have to be really, really, really careful. Swings, they make me really, really motion sick. That sensation of falling, it makes me sick. And so I can spin, I can turn, like, you know those little teacup rides, and the teacups are like turning as you're turning. I can do that, but I can't do anything that goes up and down. So I found it really hard to do the support spindling in the car. So I'm gonna try again. That leads me to another spindle that I wanted to share with you guys. This is from Woodland Handcrafts, and I had bought this right before we left, and I actually did a total copycat of Crystal, who's in our community and spins beautifully on her support spindles. I saw hers, and her little owl is red in there. It's a little owl peeking out, and hers is red, and I saw this one and I just snagged it. So I did get a couple of support spindles recently. I'm really excited to try this one. That's why it's in my box here, actually, to give it a try with my bowls that I have that were sent to me. I don't know if I shared this with you guys. I have a couple of bowls that were actually sent to me by somebody in the community, and a couple of them have worked out really, really well. So this one is actually really quite perfect. I like this one when I have a metal tipped spindle because it really spins nicely on the ceramic. And I actually haven't tried this one yet, but that works quite well too. The only problem is that the lip on this isn't quite high enough, but it works really well in the car because I'm kind of like nestled into a small spot anyways, and it works really quite well. So yeah. Diana asks if I'm going to the fleece sale today. I'm supposed to be meeting up with Greta and Felicia after Queries and Explorations this morning, but I don't need to buy any fleeces or anything, so I'm actually not sure. Are you gonna go, Diana? Okay, so the other spinning that I did, I had told you guys that I wanted to go and that I wasn't going to come back until I had finished my spinning sock 6-pack. But what ended up happening was this bin has that project in it, and I left this at home. I left it on the counter. It didn't actually get put into the trailer. So I have been taking my little Kapar spindle with us when we've been walking in the evenings. Since we've been back, and I've been able to get this little bit of spinning done. It doesn't look like much, but it is a little bit more than was done a few weeks ago. And so this is one of the colorways that's left. I can't remember what that one's called. So the only one that I have left to do is actually this one, which I think is called Shipwreck, if I remember. These are Sweet Georgia colorways. Yeah, Shipwreck. This one is Grouse, which I'm working on currently. And then the other colorways that are in it are Spring Garden, which are these two here, and then the bottom two are Tapestry. No, sorry, Phoenix Rising, which are the two on the bottom. So those ones are done. And I also took where are they? I finished more of this when we were gone. So let me just see if I can find it. Everything is in like bags and all ready for transport. So I finished these as well. So these are Tea Party and Tapestry. So this is Tea Party. Sorry, this is Tapestry. No, that's Tea Party. And this is Tea Party. This is Tea Party. My goodness, Rachel, which one is which? This one is Tapestry and this one is Tea Party. This is Tea Party, this is Tapestry. So I've actually finished, I've only got one and 3/4 left to go. I'm getting there. So I did get these ones finished while we were away. But I left the others on the counter at home because that was going to be the project that I worked on while we were gone. I was just going to spin and spin and spin and spin and spin and see if I could get these done. And like I said, I left the rest of it on the counter at home. So these singles ended up being spun on a variety of spindles. So it'll be really interesting to see how they come out, because some of them were spun on my Turtle Made, which is about 35 grams. It's a Turkish spindle. If you guys haven't seen these, they're really neat. They're 3D printed and they go together like so. This shaft is a little bit tight, but they go together like so. They're just really fun little spinners. They're not particularly fast. They're a little bit heavy. But I have to say, like I spun on these for a long time before I started looking at other spindles, and I really, really enjoy spinning on them. The other spindles, I have 2 of these Kapar spindles. These are about 18 grams, and I've been spinning on, most of these were spun on these little spindles, most of the singles. So these are Kapar spindles. I can't remember what, I'm pretty sure this is maple and this is walnut, if my memory serves. And my other one is a little bit different. And unfortunately, he's not making them anymore because he passed away. And then I did spin the Spring Garden. I was running out of spindles. And so I grabbed out my Hound design and I spun on that, which is about 35 grams. And I actually quite like this spindle. It's one of my spindles that I come back to again and again. And then I also have one of his lace weight spindles. So this is a Hound design as well. And I bought this, I've talked about this one before. I bought it in Toronto and it was a little bit damaged. The hook on the top isn't exactly straight. And so over the years, I've tried to straighten it out, but you can see it's still a little bit off. So the spindle is a little bit wobbly. And I just need to get Mike to fix that for me again. And then the other spindle that I was working on was my Bosworth. And so my Bosworth spindle is now full because I've been spinning up some Jacob. So I've been walking around spinning up this plain dark brown Jacob that on my Bosworth, and this is about 22 grams, this Bosworth spindle, and I also have an 18-gram Bosworth, which I love as well. This has been perfect for this fiber, and it's been going really, really fast because as I have been spinning, because this spin just keeps on going, it's sort of, it's heavy enough that it slows down and doesn't overspin the Jacob, and just sort of creates a really lovely spin. So I've been carrying that around with me and also spinning Jacob and my other spinning stock 6-pack on my other spindles. So I've been using my very favorite, I don't know why this one's my favorite, it just is my favorite. This particular Turtle Made spindle, it's just perfect. I don't know why. You know how some spindles, you can have like 100 of the same spindle, but one is just so good. This one is that spindle for me. So this is like I just love this spindle. So this is another Turtle Made, and this is Jacob as well. So I'm spinning some of it on my drop spindle, wherever that went, some of it on here, and then I also have some of it on my second Kapar. So that's this little guy here. And the reason why is I just want to see how the same fiber spins on the different spindles, and if I can create yarn that's relatively similar, if not the same. Oh, the kids, I was looking for our masks the other day and I couldn't find them yesterday. Well, they're in my spindle spinning bag because, like, of course they would be there. So I've been really enjoying that project, and I have about 100 grams of this. It came from World of Wool, and I've been really, really enjoying spinning on it. It's part of our breeding color study that we're working on currently. And going through all of all of my spindles and just kind of doing a comparison and stuff, it's just been really, really fun to go through all of that and to just really enjoy the process and enjoy just going through it all. And the spinning sock 6-pack is and will get done. It is getting there. I did finish a couple of things while we were away. So this is washed and blocked. I'm just going to move over a little bit here. We might have to save our spinning sheep breeds for next week because I have so much to share with you guys today. I would rather catch you up on all of the things and then start fresh next week with our primitive study and do that for sort of the remainder of the fall. So we might actually do that. I'm kind of looking at the time and just really enjoying chatting with you guys. So yeah, if that's okay with you, we might kind of do that. So this yarn is, I'll tell you about the yarn first and then I'll tell you about the pattern. And then I just need to answer a couple of questions because you guys are just chatting away. Diana, same as me, loves the Kapar and the Turtle Made spindles. I feel so fortunate that I have the Kapar spindles that I have because I have 3 of them. I have a drop spindle and then I have I have a larger Turtle Made. I have a larger Turkish spindle of his and then I have the 2 smaller ones and I'm just so glad that I have them. The hound design is classic and the lace weight one is gorgeous. I just need to straighten up the hook. You guys are chatting about some of the stats around infection. How big is your handbag? You know what, Samantha, I don't actually use a purse anymore. It's just too cumbersome. So I often just drag these around my knitting bags. Like I often just kind of carry them around like this. And then I have all my stuff in here and then I have my phone, like I'll tuck my phone in. So I have my, like the cards that I have to have are in my phone. And I often just take one of these now instead of taking a purse because then I don't have to carry a purse with me for one. And I have my projects with me. So that's why the kids' masks are in there. And there's like gum and I always have a pair of scissors with me. I usually carry the ones where the tips tuck in for scissors so that they are foldable so that people don't get hurt. It's like Mary Poppins purse. You keep pulling things out. Totally. Mary Poppins. I don't know if you guys know this about me, but my absolute most favorite movie is Mary Poppins, the original one. I love the second one, but it's actually my favorite movie. I don't know if you guys knew that. Let's see. Knitting bag is always more superior than a regular purse. I totally agree, Tori. I totally agree. So let's chat about this really quickly. Well, not quickly, but let's chat about this. So this is a pattern by Amy Christophers. It's called the Larch Cardigan. I have made it before. I think it was pre-podcast days that I made it. And I had done it out of some Rowan sheep breeds. Do you guys remember that wool when there was that sheep breeds? It was that specific sheep breeds and it was in the natural colors. I think I accidentally donated the sweater, which I'm really bummed about, but hopefully it's in a good home. Hopefully it didn't get felted. This is yarn that I had bought from my friend Lynn of West Coast Color years ago, probably back in 2007, 2008. And it's a sport weight. And my original plan with it was always to knit a sweater, but it was knit and re-knit and ripped so many times that it never kind of became anything. And my goal for this year, kind of going forward, is to really knit down my stash and really try to get rid of as much of my yarn as possible for sweaters that I've had earmarked for a really long time that I want to make. And a lot of that is just because I want to move towards not really having a yarn stash, but having just hand spun. Slowly. So this is a really neat pattern because it's got the shawl collar, which of course I love. It's so warm and cozy up against your neck. It is a bottom-up design. You start with twisted rib and you work your way up, divide for the yoke at the front, and you divide for the back. And actually, let me just move back a little bit. And I'll just sort of show you. So you work all the way up here to the back, divide for the back, and then cast. These stitches go on hold while these stitches are done as a 3-needle bind off, and that creates your armhole. And then you do the same, and you cast on at your cuff, do your twisted rib, and then knit up to the sleeve, shape your sleeve cap and cast off, and then you seam it and sew it in. So I think that my sewing actually went quite well. I didn't have to redo it a whole bunch of times. It actually fits, the sleeve cap fit in absolutely perfectly. And then after you're done all of that, I did this after, but in the pattern, I think it's like in the middle. After you're done all of that, you pick up these live stitches back here across the back yoke, and you start knitting up. and you pick up stitches along the side of the collar as you're going, working tons and tons and tons of short rows. And then as you build the collar out, you slowly amass this length here and knit and get your way down to here. And then you knit straight so that you've got these stitches here to be able to seam and finish the insert. And after that, once you have finished that, all of these stitches get picked up, and then you add some crochet chains after the fact. Now, I said this in the travel vlog that I had filmed that I just told you guys about. What I did with my old one was I actually put a button on the inside to secure it on the inside so that this didn't fall down. I just didn't have another one of these buttons when we were away. So I am going to grab that and add that onto the sweater, because that's the one thing that I think would just sort of in the winter when you're wearing it as more of like a coat or a jacket would really help. So this is the Larch Cardigan by Amy Christophers, and it's one of her older patterns. I printed it off in whenever it was published, 2009, 2010. Let's see. I'm going to start with project bags. Got to have a crossbody bag to keep your arms. Exactly, that's the thing. I only wear, like, if I do wear a bag or a purse, it's always crossbody, because I like having my arms free too. What is the name of the sweater? Yeah, it's the Larch Cardigan. Sorry about that, I didn't say it at the beginning. I want that sweater. Or are you guys talking about? Totally understand being nervous. You guys are talking about some other stuff as well, so that's great. Continue on. So that is this sweater. It is washed, it is blocked, it sits really nicely, it fits me really well. I can share that with you actually if you would. I know you guys really like seeing stuff on so that you can see how it fits. This was a sweater that I wore a lot before I donated it, which is why I think it got donated by accident, because I remember thinking to myself, I wonder where that sweater got put back a few years ago, and then not knowing where it was. So that is, my hair is in the way. That was one thing, being out at the river. So the hot springs are actually in a river out there at Liard. And one of the things that I always find really hard is when we're out there for like a week, like we were this time, there's no water. So everything is like, we've got the trailer and we've got water in our trailer, but it's not like there's no showers or anything. And out at the change rooms, where when you walk out to the hot springs, it's just change rooms. Like there's no actual running water. And so you just get changed, you go in the river, and then you get out again. So by the time we got home, even though I'd had a shower after we left the river, the hot springs, and got back into sort of civilization, if you will, I could not get my hair untangled, like no matter what I did. And so it's taken me all week just working at it very slowly to get all of the tangles out of my hair and get it back to normal. And even now it's still tangled and dry. And I think I'm gonna have to go and get it cut and trimmed. But it's just, you know, it's kind of, it doesn't feel good, you know? So that is what it looks like when it's on. And I did lengthen the body a little bit. I think the body is like 15 inches, and I lengthened it to 16 just to give lots of coverage. So that is sort of what it looks like. Yeah. Except that it's too warm. Sweater fits beautifully. Thank you so much, Tori. Yeah, her patterns are, they just fit. Like for me, like I know everybody has their designer that that just works for them and fits. Like some people, I know some people were talking in the Maker Morning, like Hohi Locatelli, her patterns really fit people well. Her patterns fit me too, actually. But whatever it is about Amy and her shape and her way of grading, and I'm not really sure, they just fit me. I don't know how else to describe it. I don't have to modify them. I don't have to change them. They just fit me. So this is Enchanté, and this got finished as well. I have to say both of these were finished by the 4th day of our trip. So we left on the Saturday, and these were all done by Wednesday. Both of these, they were completely finished. So I'm just going to move this back a little bit so you can see. So this is washed and blocked as well. This came out I'm really happy with this. So because it's a drop shoulder, it looks kind of funny on the dress form, unfortunately, but it came out really, really nicely. I'm really happy with it. You pick up the drop shoulder after the fact and knit it. Knit the sleeves straight until you go to cast off. I didn't do that. I actually did decreases. You can probably see them along there. I didn't want to have really super big baggy sleeves and then have a really tight cuff. It just doesn't suit me. So what I did instead was I did shape it a little bit. So I kept trying it on, and then I started the shaping when I was sort of ready to start decreases. I did modify the back. So this is a pattern. If somebody could link it, actually, maybe I have it right here. This is a pattern by Emily Louis. It is available in French and English. So you just download the one that is like your size. And I did modify this. So in the pattern, I'll try to explain this as clearly as I possibly can, but you guys ask questions. There's no nups. These are decreases. So they show up as sort of pattern in the vine so that it looks like leaves. In the pattern, the back neck swoops down. So you actually stop shaping. How does it work? You basically, when you separate for the yoke, for the back and the front, you work up to a certain number of repeats. I can't remember how many. And then you work the shoulder. And meanwhile, you've got sort of these stitches on hold down here. So it creates sort of this swooped neckline. So you can see how on my t-shirt, I've got the swoop at the front, but it creates the swoop at the back as well. I just don't like that. I much prefer stuff that comes up properly at the back neck. It just fits me a bit better, and I think it's just because of the shape of my shoulders and the shape of my of sort of my anatomy, if you will. And so I wanted to mimic that on this as well. I tried it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. I put this on hold. I put it aside for a couple weeks before we left. I was just sort of a bit burned out with it. And so I ended up going back. When we left, one of our days was quite a long driving day. I think we had like a 7-hour driving day. So I took this in the truck and I was like, I'm not working on anything else. I'm just going to work on this until I'm happy with the neckline. So I ripped it all out and I put all these stitches back on. I ripped back, put this all back on, and I reworked it so that when I did the 3-needle bind off at the top and redid the I-cord bind off around the neckline, it would just cinch it up properly. And so that's what I did. And then that same day, because we were still driving, I picked up for the arms and knit down. So that's what that looks like. This is going to get dyed. This is my hand spun Beaumont and alpaca yarn. It's a 50-50. And I have quite a bit of yarn left over, unfortunately. I was hoping to have quite a bit less left over. I was hoping to be playing yarn chicken for the sleeves, but that is not how it worked out. So I have all of this left over. And then I have the kid mohair silk blend that I used, that I held double with it, which is here. And this yarn, it's really interesting. I bought this in a D-stash on Chaotic Fibers when they were going to be retiring. And of course, Chaotic Fibers, they were bought. So they're still in business, but just owned by a different person. And this kid mohair silk, it's really fuzzy. Like, I know it's supposed to be fuzzy, but it is unbelievably fuzzy. Way more so than some of the other mohair silk blends that I have worked with. I'm not sure if I can show you, but like this is the end of it. Like it's, I don't know, it's just really fuzzy. And some of it was actually like I could pull it off. It just seemed like an inordinate amount of fuzz. So I'm not sure. I'm wondering if this, like this sweater sheds a ton. After I've been knitting with it for a while, like I'm just covered in kid mohair and fuzz. And I don't know if I can try this on over the t-shirt that I'm wearing and actually show you this like properly. I'm not actually sure that I can do that, but I can try. So that is that. I'm not wearing the right undershirt, like the shirt that's underneath is not quite right, but that's the sweater. And I think this actually will get quite a bit of wear because it's just like, it's just so cute. It's just such a cute sweater. I might lengthen the sleeves a little bit, but then again, I might not, because as you wear it and as you pull at it and sort of, you know, fuss and fiddle, and I've got a big bulky t-shirt on underneath too, so it's a bit hard to show that, but really happy with that. Yeah, I was also thinking, actually, Dana, she says make matching accessories, but I was also thinking, like, there's quite a few patterns out there for various, you know, where you're holding the kid mohair silk that are like, words, Rachel, not accessories, but like, it doesn't have to match the sweater. Just, you know, but some of the shawl patterns out there and some of the toques and stuff, like, some of them use some of this stuff. Now, unfortunately, I am in the middle of a row, which is really too bad. But this is Yostava. This is a pattern by Jonah. What's her last name? Jonah. It wasn't a designer that I had come across before, but I have to say the pattern is written. It is beautiful. I don't know what color I'm going to dye it. That's I don't know. Good question, Linnea. I'm not sure. I'm going to talk to my friend Jenny actually about it. Now, I think if I try to put this on my dress form, that these stitches are going to come off. So what we'll do is I'll just show it to you on the one side. Otherwise, I'm going to lose all of the stitches. So let me just show you. So this is I'm really enjoying this, and I think a lot of it is because it's something a little bit different. It's not something that I've kind of knit recently where I've got a lot of patterning and a lot of stitch patterning. I've done lace recently, but I haven't really done like textured knitting. So this is not hand spun. This is commercial yarn. Again, trying to knit through my stash. It's a raglan. You cast on and you work your raglan increases here, and it just creates all of that texture in there. And then I've already separated for the yoke and separated for the body, sorry. And as you're knitting, you shape this front here, and then you've got a button band here, and of course I'm not stretching this at all because I've got live stitches on here and it's all going to come apart, but because it uses a combination of knit and purl, like, it's just interesting, you know what I mean? It's just got some interest every single row. And this is being knit out of llama merino. So this was in my stash, and it's in ALLLL yarns. It's a natural color. It hasn't been dyed. It's actually been really funny. As I'm knitting, I'm like pulling out guard hairs every so often. And I don't know if you guys find this, but it's very gratifying to pull out guard hairs. I don't know if you guys have ever noticed that or if you guys enjoy that as well. But as I'm knitting and I'm pulling them out, I just love it. I don't know why. So this is by ALLLL yarns. I have more than enough to knit this sweater. I think I'm going to have quite a bit left over. But because we've been doing camelids recently, I really, really wanted to do something with a camelid yarn. And knitting with alpaca is a little bit difficult for me, but I had this in my stash. So I thought, perfect. So that's what I was working on and what I cast on. And actually, considering how much I knit on this, I didn't get a lot done. This is hours and hours of knitting, but I think it's because of the knit purl, and you're doing stuff every row. And I'm only sort of 3 or 4 repeats down under the arm. And that's like, it's actually a lot of knitting. It's just, I think this is one of those sweaters where there's just a lot of knitting in it. And, you know, some sweaters are like that. You just feel like you have to knit more than other sweaters. It's kind of funny how that goes. The other sweater that I started, and I can't put it on my dress form because of all the needles that are in it, is by Amy Christopher's again. You guys know how much I like her patterns. I was just waxing poetic about them. And I can't put it on myself either because the needles at the bottom won't fit around me. But this is the Lunenburg pullover, Lunenburg. And I can link to this as well for you guys. I did put it in the show notes, which are at patreon.com/woolandspinning. But this is, you start at the top neck. You've got the ribbing. You do your ribbing on smaller needles, and then you go to your bigger needles for your color work. And I talked about this, the colors that I had chosen extensively in our last episode on the road, episode 213. And I actually have quite a bit done on the body. I'm not quite ready to cast off yet. I haven't actually measured this. I'm not actually sure how long this is yet, but this is the yarn from Kelly. This is her Dominion Fleece and Fiber. It's her Cheviot yarn. Is it North County Cheviot, Kelly? And this is the Marigold over dyed with indigo, this solid tealy, gorgeous dark green color. I love this color so much. And I'll just stand back. I just feel like these are my colors, you know, like when you see, I just feel like this sounds really egotistical. But I hope that you guys will take it with a grain of salt, because I am kind of going to toot toot puff puff for a minute. I think I nailed it with the colors. I always second guess myself with color work, and I'm always like, oh, I don't know, and putting colors together. And I feel like I nailed it. So I ended up working on this almost exclusively. And then to rest my hands, I went to this, because this is quite a bit slower to knit, because you're knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl. Whereas this is only knitting. She uses purl stitches in the chart to create some of this color work in here. So all of this in here and here and up here, it's all purl. Isn't that cool? So driving one day, so I can knit through, I timed it because we were driving for 4 hours. I can knit through one skein. So 4 hours was one skein of yarn. And then we stopped for lunch, and we're at our destination. We had about an hour and a half left. And so then I left this in the trailer and I grabbed this to give my hand a break. But I knit through one ball of yarn, and now I've knit through, so far there's 2 skeins of the marigold that I've used. And I'm just going into the 3rd one for the rest of the body. And then I have 2 left for the sleeves. So that's it. Yeah, thank you, you guys. You nailed it. Thank you. Toot away. You definitely nailed it. Thanks, you guys. I did throw in, I talked about this last time. After we got on the road, I was really concerned about the natural tawny brown that I had chosen that's in there. It's really, really neutral and really quiet, and it almost kind of blends in with everything else. And once I started knitting with it at the top here, I was really nervous about it, but I was like, well, I have no other yarn. Like, I have to just keep going. But I'm glad that I did, because it's a little bit different and it's a slightly different texture, and it'll block out. But it's an alpaca wool yarn, and it's just a tiny bit of alpaca, but it just creates a little bit of interest, you know. So that is the Lunenburg pullover by Amy Christophers. I think it's going to be quite baggy. I think it's going to be kind of one of those sweaters that's like a little bit of a, kind of a, not a poncho, but, you know, like in the pattern, she says to only knit to 11 inches and then 2 inches of ribbing. So the total sweater is only 13 inches long. That doesn't work for me. I need it to be longer than that. But I think it's kind of meant to, like, she models it with a longer shirt underneath. So I think it'll be really just a warm, cuddly sweater. I think that catches you guys up on everything. I think that's everything. I think. There's probably more. I did do some modifications and some other sweater stuff, but that is in the vlog, so I won't repeat myself here, because then it's interesting for you guys to watch the other vlog once I get that posted. And then next week, what we'll do is we'll delve into our primitive study. So we've got for the breed workshop, the spinning sheep breeds on the School of Sweet Georgia, we have 3 more to do. So we've got Icelandic, Jacob, and Shetland to look at. And actually, I'm really excited to look at the Shetland, because Shetland is one of my absolute most favorite things to spin. And I think it'll be fun to talk through that on the show. So we'll delve into that next week. I will change the title of this episode so that it's not confusing, that we didn't end up looking at Shetland and we're an hour in and people are wondering where that went. So I'll modify the show notes and stuff later. I love the texture and the color work. You know what, Dion, the other thing about it too is that it made it interesting. So color work is always interesting because you're wanting to get to the next row. it's kind of like potato chip knitting. You can't knit just one row, and having the purl in there made it even more interesting. It slows down, but it definitely is interesting. Yeah, a boxy shape. That's right. Yes, exactly. You got it. The pearls give it an amazing texture. Toot the horn. Those colors look great on you. Thank you so much, Alicia. Oh, bye, Diane. Good to see you. I'm glad you were able to tune in. She was tuning in from Greece. She's there for some time this fall, which is amazing. I'm glad that she was able to do that. So I think that is it for my projects. So why don't we go into talking about your projects? And I just need to cue things up for a minute. So just bear with me here. So I was supposed to announce today's winner for our August giveaway, and I didn't get a chance to go through all of the comments on YouTube and Patreon and do the random number. So I will do that for next show, and I don't really have a prompt for September. So if you guys have a prompt that we could use for September's giveaway, that would be great. And I think what we're going to do is I'll make some stuff up. I've been playing with the blending board on the wool circle with you guys, and we made these yesterday. Let me just wrap them up. These are beautiful. I'm going to make some more of these. We came up, these have microfiber in them, Sari Silk, Firestar, Perindale, Corriedale. They just turned out beautifully. Here's one of the other ones that came up beautifully. James was playing with these yesterday. He was really curious about them, and I said to him, please don't touch them, just look. But he touched them, so they kind of got pulled apart a little bit, but they just turned out beautifully. So I'm thinking that I'm going to make a whole bunch more of those. So if you guys would like to have a look at those, or if you would like to win a set of those, I think I'll do that for September. So we just need ooh, Eve, that's a really good one. Which fiber you don't like and why? I'm going to steal that, Eve. That's just perfect. So tell us which fiber you don't like and why. That's excellent, Eve. Thank you so much. So for September, tell us what you don't like and why. And I'll make a couple more sets of those, and we'll send those out for September. So let's see. My bangs need to be cut. I'm so sorry, you guys, because I know I keep playing with them and it's annoying. I'm annoyed. So if I'm annoyed, you guys are annoyed. Let me just move my stuff out of the way here, and I just want to chat a little bit about breed and color studies. So we are currently studying Jacob, and it's been really neat this time around because people have been also finishing up some of their Shetland study as well. And they, this is from a few weeks ago, all of this community participation. So for some of you, you'll probably be like, oh my goodness, I shared that a long time ago. And the reason for that is because I queued this up before we left. So there are so many photos on the Slack channel and Ravelry and whatnot that I need to get caught up with. So I'm really excited to go through and do the community participation for next week. I'm always excited to do it, but there's so many great things that you guys are working on. So as you know, we are currently working on Jacob all the way through till the end of December. This one is from Kelly. I love how this turned out. Started knitting with my Jacob yarn twice and pulled it out twice as it was feeling a bit wiry for a shawl. After a trip back through the wheel and a warm bath, I now have a very low ply twist yarn to start with again. I hope to share FOs soon. This yarn is just beautiful, Kelly. So definitely the way to go to take a little bit of that twist out. It didn't hurt the yarn at all. It just looks amazing. That twist angle is still fantastic. Dana says she wants to win. Gorgeous teal blues. You guys are funny. Maybe there will be a big run on these. With some of these giveaways and some of this stuff, if there's ever anything that I've made that you guys want but you don't win the giveaway, like just talk to me because we can work something out. It's really the big cost for me is shipping. So you know, if there's stuff that you guys see that you want, like those little packs that I made for July, August, and September's giveaway. If you wanted one of those, just send me a note, send me a message. We can definitely work something out. This is from Carl. Finished my breed and color study project. I got 1 pack of carded fiber and 1 pack of the fiber, so the kit, which I spun into 6 mini skeins. I love these roll legs. These are just beautiful. I made 2 placemats on a rigid heddle loom. I'm not thrilled with how it came out, mostly because I didn't have enough yardage to really pull it off. I ended up weaving with a warp and weft that is less dense than I would have liked, which I think led to a lot of inconsistency. You see it because you made it, but in the photos, the placemats are beautiful. So well done. However, from start to finish, the project was super fun. I've been spinning on a drop spindle for years, but finally broke down and got a wheel this summer. Congratulations. I've got so much to learn, but I'm finding this community really inspiring. Thank you, Carl, and thank you for saying that. And I love your placemats. I think they are just absolutely beautiful. So as you guys know, we have been working through Spindle Spun Summer. And Spindle Spun Summer has been just an opportunity for us to celebrate all things spinning on spindles. And many people have come out of the woodwork in our Slack community especially and said, oh, like I spin on spindles all the time, and have been really stepping up and sharing their projects. So this one is from Mary Jo. It's been a quiet week. We drove to the cabin, and then we arrived. I realized I had left the spindles I wanted to test at home. I rooted around a bit and found the wings of a Turkish and decided to whittle a stick for it. So that's I think there's the stick is in there somewhere. That worked surprisingly well, and she decided to try and spin on some old weaving spools. That was a big bust. It was just too slow and fiddly. Next, there were 2 mini Turkish spindles. These were small enough to fit into a shirt pocket, and the Schneider weighs just 11 grams. I wouldn't want to spin a lot on these, but they are nice. They are a nice tool for quick samples. My little basket has spinning plying balls too. I like to use anything that's handy for the core of my plying balls. I do as well, and actually I often just grab a little rock and use that for the core. It actually works really, really well. So even though I forgot the fiber in the spindles I wanted to use, my week turned out pretty well. I would say so, Mary Jo. Absolutely. This one is from Kelly. I am excited to be heading out to the fiber retreat called Yarny Camp tomorrow, but instead of packing and getting my to-do list done, I've been spinning on the 4th color of my Inglenook Tour de Fleece cashmere. And plying up a Frankenstein that I spun from odds and ends. I'm the best procrastinator ever. So Kelly and I were both lamenting in the Slack channel that the packing gnomes, they never showed up. The packing fairies, they were obviously on vacation themselves, and they didn't come and pack her or I. Beautiful placemats. What yarn is used? Which sweater, Priscilla? Which sweater are you asking about? Because I can clarify for you. Placemats are beautiful. Love Kelly's skein. Beautiful place for photos. Dana, I think it's at Mary Jo's cabin, but I'm not sure which part of the US she's in. And I don't think that she's here today. This is from Diana. Plying is all done. These spindles got just to the point of being too full to spin without effort, but it's done. Total amount is 250 meters, 171 yards from 122 grams. It's drying, and then the formatting on my Patreon post went skewy. So next we have Linda Sue, but I'm actually not sure that I have her on here. I think I'm missing her. Yeah, I don't have her post here. So we'll have to do Linda Sue next week. I'm so sorry, you guys. The next one is from Amanda. So this was some dyeing that Amanda was doing alongside virtually with Vicki and Kelly in the School of Sweet Georgia Natural Dyeing Study Group this summer. So Amanda shared, they've been sharing in the hashtag dyeing channel in the school is in our Slack channel in the hashtag dying. If you are looking for some inspiration or some people to help, oh my goodness, these guys, you guys have just, the photos that you've been posting have just been unbelievable. So this is from Amanda. She dyed just over 2 kilos of raya wool as fiber, resulting in 23 shades of carded fiber for her to play with later. So she dyed up merino sample skeins as she went, even more variations, and about 800 grams of hand-spun raya rug wool, which in the end dyed up to look just like gray Gotland. So much fun. Too much fiber to fit into one photo, but here's a photo of all the little sample skeins of merino. So these are all the colors that she got from her natural dye experiments. I'm looking forward to playing with all the different colored fiber on my drum carder. It just looks amazing. Actually, I have to admit, these colors here in this corner up nearest to me, they're just my favorite. Yeah. So yeah, sorry, Linda, Sue, I'll share them next week. I've got a couple of different weeks in progress for community participation, so everything gets a bit jumbled once in a while. And then our last one this week is from Lisa. Lisa is very active in the hashtag weaving and the hashtag master weaver threads in Slack. She's been just a huge help for people to navigate through their OHS master weaver because she is the vice president of the OHS. So she's been a huge resource, and she also just launched her own community for weaving specifically, the Kawartha Weavers Forum. So I'll see if I can try to link that for you guys later. So she made these buffalo check tea towels. I just love these. It was funny while we were away, there were so many people wearing buffalo plaid. It was unbelievable. I've never seen that much buffalo plaid when we've been away. I know it's really popular, but I think it's kind of, it's starting to get into the mainstream and people are wearing it. So she made 13 and they are already all spoken for. It's 2/8 cotton, straight draw twill, and a set of 20. Beautiful. I think that was, I just had just a few things for community participation this week because I knew that we would really get talking. So a nice reminder, the natural dye isn't always yellow. Yes, it's so true. Mary Jo, you are here today. The cabin is at Lake Redstone in Wisconsin. I have a small meadow in front of the house where I like to sit and watch nature do its thing. That's awesome. Beautiful. I think the featured list might be wrong. Oh yes, it is, Kelly. It's wrong. That's why I took it off the screen. It was from the 21st, that list. Yeah. Let me just catch any last questions that you guys have, and we'll just go back to the main screen, and then we will say goodbye for today. Love those buffalo plaid towels. After a long time of missing out on episodes in Slack, I see that lately I've been, namely Jacob, Spindles, and Kilos of Dying. That's awesome. Yes, you've been, even though you've been missing out on episodes in Slack and stuff, you're still with us. Maybe the caribou like buffalo plaid too. That's awesome. So thank you so much for being here today. I know it was a lot of talking and sharing my projects with you guys this week, and we didn't really get that chance to get onto the wheel this week, but I hope that that was okay. Just to kind of catch you guys up on what I'm working on and where I'm at with my making. I do get a lot done when we're driving and when we're in the truck, and because I found the spindle spinning to cause me that motion sickness, it was actually really hard to do a lot of spindle spinning while we were driving, and because we did drive so far, I had a lot of time to knit. So I will share more with you in my vlog that I did towards the end of our trip. And there is one part in the vlog, I'm going to sort of talk it up now, but I'll try and get it done this week, where there was an elderly gentleman who was walking through the campground. It was really quiet everywhere that we were. It was surprisingly quiet and no kids. We were really surprised. There were just no kids around at all, even though school in British Columbia doesn't start until after Labor Day. And there was this elderly gentleman who was walking through the campground, and he was staring at me because I had the camera in front of me and I was talking to it, and I was at the picnic table, and he just was like, as he was walking by, and I was like, stop looking at me. So I'm like trying to just continue on like this is totally normal, but I'm also like distracted by him. So yeah, it's funny how we sort of have to you know, tune out the rest of the world when we're doing these crazy things. It's like when you're at a playground spindle spinning, you get the kids walking up, what are you doing? You know, and they're just so curious, right? And then the moms sometimes will come over and be like, oh, stop bugging her, you know, and then, well, what are you doing? It's kind of neat, but in that situation you can interact, but when you're filming, you have to just kind of ignore what's going on around you. So how hard are those buffalo plaid to do? Great question, Eve. They are not difficult at all. All you have to do is a red and a black warp, and you're just alternating red and black all the way along. So you can make your warp. You can make them an inch wide. You can make them an inch and a half wide. You can make them 2 inches wide. You could even ask Lisa on the Slack channel what she did, and then you just warp that all the way across, and then you just weave the same thing for your weft, and that's what makes that plaid. So really, really easy, not hard at all. Yes, so self-conscious when you've got people staring at you when you're filming. It's so true. Okay, I am going to say goodbye because we could sit here all day. We've got queries and explorations starting at 10 a.m. So that's in about 55 minutes from now. And I will see you guys next week, same time, same place. Bye, everyone.